Whoa, my lighting is a little crazy, isn't it? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April edition of the Do Tell Story Swap. And we have a very special program tonight because we have a guest teller, Brother Ben Tucker. And of course, the norms will be in place. We'll have some tellers who've signed up. Those are regularly 5 to 7 minute slots, and stories are told, not read, without notes. And there are opportunities if you have a longer story, you can check in with Katie Mangan or Meg Brown in advance to get some extra time. And usually those tellers will go near the end of the swap. As always, after our guest teller, we'll get through as many tellers as we can up to the halfway point, whereupon we take a short break. And then when we come back together, we introduce each other and talk about a prompt that is unique to every month. And we have a special one lined up for you tonight, um, courtesy of Vicky Ness. It's a good one. So I think I've covered most of the business. We do announcements halfway through, and I'm sure Meg Brown or Katie Mangan or Vicky Ness will have something to share with you. But other than that, I just want to give you a very warm welcome to the April edition of the Do Tell Story Swap. It's really my pleasure to be introducing our guest teller. Um, he's a fellow board member of the Storytelling Association of California, but more than that, I think I'm lucky enough to be able to call him a friend. And he has regaled my classroom with stories. He zoomed in when I was teaching US history and told stories about the Great Migration. And I have been lucky enough to share a stage several times with him and watched him really weave his magic in front of audiences all over the Bay Area, Berkeley, San Francisco. And we're lucky enough tonight to have him up here in the North Bay, even if it is a virtual stage. But without any further ado, I want to give a very warm welcome to fellow board member, friend, and artist, Brother Ben Tucker.
Thank you, Brandon, for that great introduction. It's always been a pleasure to work with you as well. And I want to thank the Do Tell Swap for inviting me. When I got the invitation, I asked, well, is there a theme that I need to adhere to? And I was told no. So I thought about it and I said, okay, what should I talk about? And then after watching the news of late and then looking at my 403B, I said, well, I think I'll tell this story. And it's a story that kind of really resonates with what's going on in the country and around the world. And it also speaks of the power of storytelling that expands centuries. And this is an Armenian tale, and it's about the invincible rooster. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful rooster in a kingdom in Armenia. And this was a beautiful rooster, magnificent, royal looking rooster. It had really shiny black feathers. It had a beak that was yellow and sharp as a razor, just as its spurs were that were on its legs. It had a wonderful tail feather that arched out backwards, and it had a red comb that sat atop of its head. It was a royal looking rooster, and everyone thought in the kingdom that this was the finest rooster they'd ever laid eyes on. But as impressive as this rooster's physical features were, what really set this rooster apart was its crow. It had a voice that could be heard far and wide throughout the kingdom. And he used it. And everyone, when they heard this rooster crow, they would stop whatever they were doing and they would listen. Babies would stop crying. Fishermen would lay down their nets and their poles and stopped and listened. Farmers would lay down their implements in the field and listen. And even the king of the of his fiefdom, he would stop all of his royal business to hear what this rooster had to say. And this rooster was the telegraph of the whole valley. He would warn the kingdom of invading enemies. He would also let the fishermen know when it was not a good time to go out to the sea and would tell them about incoming storms before there was any storm in sight. And he also talked about deaths and births in the kingdom. And so he was highly, highly respected. Now, in this kingdom, they had a king, and this king was a foolish, unwise, egotistical king, as many kings are. And he taxed his fiefdom, taxed them heavily, and provided absolutely no public services. And everyone was afraid of the king. For the king had a mighty army, and he had henchmen that he called his royal palace guards. So no one in the kingdom defied the king or disobeyed any of his orders because they knew violence would rain down on them. So they put up with all of his oppressive ways. Now the rooster was scratching around the barnyard one morning, trying to find a couple of worms to feast on. And in his scratching and pecking, he came upon a pot. And he scratched the dirt around from the pot and saw that there were little bags in the pot. Took his beak, pulled the bags out, pulled the strings apart, and lo and behold, there were gold. Gold was in those sacks. And he counted up to 15 sacks. And he slowly counted the gold nuggets and the coins. And he saw that he had come upon a treasure. And he was excited. He was beside himself. And he realized all of a sudden he was a rich rooster. So he couldn't keep all of this good news to himself. So he flew up to the top of the hen house and he let loose with his mighty crow. Cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. I'm rich, I'm rich. I found a pot of gold. Cock-a-doodle-doodle-doo. And this was heard throughout the kingdom. Everyone heard it. And there was joyful laughter and applause. And everyone in the kingdom was happy for the rooster because they loved the rooster dearly, because he was their town crier. He looked out for them. He was their protector. And so why could you not be happy? Everyone was happy except one person, and that was the foolish, unwise, egotistical king. And the king was beside himself. What is this I hear? This rooster's proclaiming to be rich? There's only one rich person in this kingdom, and it is I. He called his royal henchman in and said, go to that rooster's henhouse and confiscate all of his gold immediately. And his henchmen, yes, sir. And they hopped aboard their horses and off they galloped, boogity, boogity, boogity. And they came into the barnyard. A cloud of dust jumped off their horses, cornered the rooster, seized the rooster by his neck, and said, where's the gold? Where's the gold? And the rooster said, let me go, let me go. Give us the gold or we will choke you to death. The king demands the gold. You have been taxed 100% on this gold. Give it up. The rooster had no choice. He had to give up the gold. The men grabbed the gold, hopped back on their horses, and galloped off. Now, the poor rooster, his feathers were totally ruffled. He was almost choked to death. He got himself some water, smoothed out his feathers, shook himself off, and says, he cannot get away with this. That gold is rightfully mine. And so he flew back up to the top of the barnyard and he crowed to the top of his voice again. Cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. The king has stolen all of my gold. Cock-a-doodle, cock-a-doodle-doo. And oh, everyone in the kingdom, they were beside themselves. Say, shame, shame on the king. How could he do that to this rooster who's such a valuable asset to this kingdom? Shame, shame, shame on him. 100%. And even within the confines of the palace, there were whispers, shame on the king, shame on the king. And these whispers got to the king's ear. And he also heard it throughout his kingdom because he had spies everywhere. And they came back and said, Your Highness, your royalty, your popularity has pummeled. Your ratings are in the low 20s. And the king, he was a very egotistical man. And even though he was mean, like everyone, he wanted to be loved. And he said, this damn rooster. Now everyone in the kingdom, they hate me. I know they fear me, but they hate me. And he called his royal henchmen back in and says, take this bloody gold and take it back to that damn rooster so he could quit crowing and crying about how I stole his treasure. And his men rode on back, dropped the gold in the yard, and galloped off without an explanation. And the rooster got out of the barnyard. He looked around. Much to his surprise, he saw the gold, and he meticulously counted every piece of gold. They were all there, intact. He had his treasure back. He was very happy rooster. So, being the royal rooster that he was, he wanted to share the good news just like he shared all the bad news. News was news to him. And he flew up to the top of the barn and he proclaimed, cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. I got my gold back. A cock-a-cock-a-doodle-doodle-doo. I got my gold back. The king has returned my gold. I guess the king is afraid of me. A doodle-doodle-doo. king heard that, and he was furious. How dare that rooster say I'm afraid of him? Go back, bring me the gold, and bring me that rooster too. I will have him for dinner tonight. And so they gallop off back to the hen house, and the rooster said, "You're here to take my gold again? Not only your gold, rooster, but we're taking you to the king." And he said, "Me? To the king? Why to the king?" He said, "Because the king is going to have you for dinner tonight." And so he rode off, and they put the rooster in the sack, and they rode off after him. And the rooster says, "Ah, the king is going to have me for dinner. How lovely." And so he said, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, kingdom, kingdom, cock-a-doodle-doo. The king is going to have me for dinner. I'm having dinner with the king tonight." And they galloped into the kingdom, and they took the rooster to the royal cook. And the cook put the rooster in a pot that was boiling. And the rooster was a very strong rooster, had a good constitution. Dropped him in the boiling pot, and the rooster said, "Ah, I'm in a sauna. I'm in a hot tub. The king is giving me a nice hot bath before dinner." And the king said, shut him up, cook him no more. Give me that rooster. I will eat him now." And the king was a glutton, and he shoved the rooster in his mouth and gulped him down in one big swallow. And the rooster could be heard saying, "Ah, I'm in a dark place. I'm going down a dark stairwell. I can't see." And the king shouted out to his men, "Shut him up! Shut him up!" And his guard said, "But sire, we can't shut him up. He's in your belly." And he told them, "Cut him out! Cut him out then, damn it! I can't stand another sound of this bloody crowing." And they said, "But sire, we can't." He said, "Are you disobeying my orders? This is an executive order." And when they heard that, they knew they had to act. And with two big whacks, whack, whack, they split the king's stomach open. And there was a big gush of red blood that flowed out like a big wave. And on top of that wave, there was the rooster. And he was like a surfer. And he surfed on that bloody surf of blood and hit the ground running, shook off the blood off of his feathers, and he flew to the top of the palace. Boom. And he let out with a mighty crow like never heard before that went all the way over to the other kingdom. And he crowed, "Crock, cock a doodle doo, cock a doodle doo. The king is dead. The king is dead. Long live the rooster."
That went in a direction I just did not see coming. Oh my God. Now, where did you write that story or
Oh,
did
no, 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 no. This is an original Armenian folk tale
oh, okay, I think
that
you
was shared with me by our good friend Dana Sherry. See,
yeah.
now I told a story about a rooster, a personal encounter that I had with a rooster at the Silk Road.
Oh,
And this rooster had a bad end. he got the wrong end of the stick in my tale, which was a true personal story. And then Dana wrote me after the show, and she said, Ben, I have another story for you about a rooster. And
Yeah.
this rooster fared a lot better. And so to me, this was, a wonderful connection to see how stories written centuries ago
Mhm.
still can connect with the human condition and human kinds of quirks and frailties that go over centuries. And it's
Yeah.
like, when will we ever learn?
Yeah. They had popularity ratings even back then. Oh my gosh. He just kept getting, his popularity rating plummeted. Then he was a glutton. And oh my gosh, he went downhill, this king. And I kept trying to think of analogies with Canada and Greenland, and then it became so wild I couldn't even come up with any anymore.
Yeah.
I have seen you tell mostly personal stories, and this may be the first traditional story I've seen you tell, and I really enjoyed that. You seem just as comfortable in traditional genres as you do your personal stories. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. I mean, the personal stories, traditional stories, they're all stories about people. And
Yeah.
so there's not, to me, a real separation.
It would be fun for you to tell the two rooster stories together, the
Yeah.
personal one and then the traditional one, or vice versa.
I have done that before.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come back and do that one.
When's the next year of the rooster?
Good question. I don't know. You have to check that Chinese calendar.
Yeah. Oh, we're in the year of the snake. I think since you are the guest of honor, I'm going to let a couple audience members ask a question or two. And so, what would help me, if you have a question for Brother Ben, would be if you went to the reactions and you can raise your hand in the react, it says react with a heart on it. And you can raise your hand like this, and that moves you up where I can find you. And I think we have time for one or two questions for Brother Ben. Does anybody want to ask Brother Ben a question? So I see Vicky Ness has a real hand. Go ahead, Vicky, unmute yourself, and then Laura will ask a second question.
I couldn't figure out how to do the hand thing. So, but if you put up your hand, it works. Anyway, so Ben, where do you normally find your stories? I mean, beside the personal ones, where do you normally find them?
I have anthologies that I collect, libraries that I go through. I take workshops
Mm-hmm.
at Stage Bridge in Oakland. And so I have a lot of reference material from some of the master teachers that I have worked with over the years, and also going to story swaps.
Yeah.
Just like this Royal Rooster story that I just told. I told it at Silk Road, and then Dana said, "Hey, here's another story you might want to check out." And she
Mhm.
also turned me on to several other Armenian stories that are really, really great, great stories. If you're not familiar with them, you
That's
might
cool.
check them out.
Are any of them stories you heard growing up?
No, there are some stories that I've heard, Southern traditional stories, but they're like stories that I heard from my grandparents and my uncles. Those sitting on the back porch late at
Yeah.
night,
Yeah.
swatting mosquitoes and things of that nature. Some of them were kind of really spooky stories, scary
Yeah.
stories at night, and some of them are like real old traditional slave type stories, runaway slaves and their encounters on the road and encounters that they had with some of the abolitionists in those days. So again, I get it from books, also classes, and then I have a family reunion every 2 years, and so I talk to some of the oldest people I can find. It's getting a little hard now because I'm one of the oldest now in the bunch. But I'm always trying to find those elders to kind of listen in on some of their conversations and actually nudge them to tell me a few things too, to try to capture and make sure that we get everything out of my old kinfolks that I know before they go on upstairs.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. And Laura has been patiently waiting to ask a question.
Yes, I noticed that your pacing was so good with that story. You really took your time, but it was so natural, but it was still slower than you speak when you're just like answering a question or something. And I wonder how much thought you've put into that, how much practice it has taken you to do that. I just thought it was fantastic.
Well, I really, before I became a storyteller, I really wanted to be a singer. I joined Stage Bridge and I was taking singing lessons. But then I auditioned for a musical, and then from there I went into storytelling. But to me, just like every song has a melody, every story has a tempo. It has, a pace. And it
Mm,
just basically, I read through, I write all
mm,
my stories out, and then I read the stories, and then, I look for transitions, and I just kind of get into a rhythm. And I think,
mm.
and I learned that a lot from some of the old timers in the South, how they take their time, they'll pause. A lot of them chew tobacco and they'll spit and watch
That'll
their
slow you down.
mouth, take a little hit off of some moonshine, and you're like,
That's
but I
good.
think it's a pacing, but the pacing is always different. And I think it's just kind of a natural kind of feel. And that's why it's good for people to, when they're doing their stories, to write them out, to read them, to record them, and to just try to find the melody in the story. That's the best way to put it.
Hmm.
That was a really good question, Laura. Thank you. And we got a little peek into Ben's genius through that, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we have time for one final question from our beloved Sharon. Sharon, where did you go?
I'm right there. Well, you
Oh,
kind of answered my question because your voice is such a powerful tool.
mm.
And so I wondered if you ever tell stories where you sing, where music is part of the story.
Well, I do tell stories. Sometimes I will set up a story with a song, or I'll end the story with a song, or a song will be embedded in the story. I tell a story, and I love chicken stories, because I didn't grow up on a farm, but my grandparents had a farm, and we go back every year. And I have a uncle who was the prize um, chicken farmer in Louisiana, and he raised these chickens, and I mean, they laid some of the best eggs in the world. And his secret was said, "What is the secret?" He says, "Because I sing to my chickens every morning. I sing to them, right after the rooster crows." And he said, "Well, what do you sing?" And he says, "I sing this song here." And then I start off with, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." So I'll embed songs like that in there.
And you had a lot of interesting sounds that are almost like songs like boogity boogity boogity. Never heard that one before. Um, they kind of go beyond just regular language, you know. You have that rhythm in the story, definitely.
Sound effects.
Sound effects, right? Onomatopoetic words. Thank you, Sharon. That was another great question. Wow. Well, Ben, we'd love for you to stay for the rest of the swap. I hope you.
Absolutely. I want to hear some of these stories.
Yeah, we've got some great tellers here lined up. We've got a good list. And so I think we probably better get going on that list. And I know that Rose is first in line. So please welcome to the virtual stage, Rose Owens.
I'd like to share tonight the story of the little rooster and the Turkish Sultan. Now, far, far away, across the seven seas, and up a hill and down the other side, there was a little house. And in that house there lived a little old woman and her pet rooster. And they shared and shared alike whatever they had. Now, one morning, after a very meager breakfast, the little rooster was walking down the road, and he thought, oh, if I could only find a kernel of corn, or maybe if I could find a grain of wheat, that would be lovely. And he walked along, all of a sudden, oh, picked it up and he looked at it and he says, it's a diamond button. Oh, I think I'll take it home and put it in my tiny things collection. And then he thought, and he said, well, no, maybe I'll take it home and give it to the little old woman, and she can buy us some cakes and some bread and a whole bag of corn. And as he was looking at that and planning what he might do with that diamond button, who should come down the road but the Turkish Sultan? Now, the Turkish Sultan is the king of a country named Turkey. And he was riding in that sedan chair with two poles at the side and four servants carrying the thing. And this Sultan was very, very short and extremely wide. And he had one philosophy in life, and it was this: if you have something and I see it and I want it, it's mine. And so he said to his servants, fetch me that button. And before the little rooster knew what had happened, the Sultan, his servants, and the button was gone. And he said to himself, cock-a-doodle-doo, give me back my button. And down the road he went. And he came to the palace, and he went up the steps and into the palace and down the hall and into the throne room. And he stopped right in front of that Sultan and he said, cock-a-doodle-doo, give me back my button. Seize that rooster. And they chased him this way and that way and around the throne room and around, and they caught him by the neck. And they took him to the Sultan and they said, what should we do with him, sire? Ah, yes. Take him out back behind the palace and throw him in the well. And they took that little rooster out back behind the palace, and then they got to the well. They threw him down, splash. And from the bottom of the well, they heard the rooster call out, oh, stomach of mine, oh, stomach of mine, drink up the water and all will be fine. And when the water was all gone, the little rooster flew up to the top of the well. He jumped down to the ground. He walked down to the steps, up the steps of the palace, down the hall and into the throne room. And he stopped right in front of that Sultan and he said, cock-a-doodle-doo, give me back my button. Seize that rooster. And they chased him this way and that way and around the throne room, and they caught him by the neck. They took him to the Sultan and they said, what shall we do with him, sire? Oh, take him down the hall to the kitchen and throw him in the fire. And they took that little rooster down the hall and they started to throw him into the fire, and they heard him say, oh, stomach of mine, oh, stomach of mine, cough up the water and all will be fine. And the water came up and the fire went out. And the little rooster hopped down to the ground, back down the hall, into the throne room, and he stopped right in front of that Sultan and he said, cock-a-doodle-doo, give me back my button. Seize that rooster. They chased him this way and that way, and this way and that way, and down the hall and back around, and they caught him by the neck. And they took him back to the Sultan, and they said, "What shall we do with him, sire?" Yeah, oh, yes. Take him out back behind the palace and stuff him in the hollow tree with the bees. They took him out back behind the palace to that big tree with the hollow in the middle of it, and they stuffed him. And the bees were pressing all around here and there and here and there. And the little rooster said, "Oh, stomach of mine, oh, stomach of mine, gobble up the bees and all will be fine." And when the bees were all gone, the little rooster swished himself back out of that hole, down to the ground, around to the front of the palace, up the steps, down the hall to the throne room, and he stopped right in front of the Sultan and he said, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, give me back my button." "Seize that rooster." And they chased him this way and that way and this way and down the hall and around and about through the kitchen and back, and they caught him back. They caught him by the neck, took him back to the Sultan. "What shall we do with him, sire?" What do you think we should do with him?" And one of the servants said, "Chop off his head." And another servant said, "Hang him to death." And the next one said, "Squish him to death." "Oh, good idea," said the Sultan. "I'll do it myself." And he motioned to two servants, and they came and they helped him to stand up. And they put the little rooster back underneath there. And as the Sultan prepared to squish him, they heard the little rooster say, "Oh, stomach of mine, oh, stomach of mine, cough up the bees and all will be fine." And the bees came out. "Take that rooster down the hall to the treasure room and tell him to take his button and go home." So they took the little rooster down the hall to the treasure room, and he looked. There was gold and silver and sapphires and rubies and diamonds and emeralds and pearls. And he had an idea. And he said, "Oh, stomach of mine, oh, stomach of mine, gobble up the treasure and all will be fine." And he gobbled up gold and silver and emeralds and rubies and sapphires and pearls. And there in the corner, he found his diamond button, and he picked it up and he waddled out of the treasure room, past the throne room, down the hall, down the steps, all the way back down the road to where the little old woman was getting ready to call him for supper. And he looked at the hole in her shoe, and he looked at her patched apron, and he had an idea. And he said, "Oh, stomach of mine, oh, stomach of mine, cough up the treasure and all will be fine." And he coughed up gold and silver and emeralds and rubies and sapphires and pearls. And the little old woman and the rooster lived richly and happily ever after. And that is the story of the little rooster and the turkey sultan.
I'm kind of beginning to sense a theme tonight. We've got a rooster and a selfish, gluttonous king, or sultan in this case. That was wonderful. I really liked often a story will have a repeated phrases like stomach of mine, and you added repeated facial expressions. The reluctant sultan was very good.
So
Thank you so much, Rose.
if you're interested, that story can be found in 20 Tellable Tales by Margaret Reed MacDonald.
Oh,
So that's my source for the story.
and that's nice that you provided that too. It's always a good idea to let your audience know where it's from.
It's kind of nice that a little Hungarian rooster can outwit a turkey sultan.
Yes. Well, thank you again. That was terrific.
Thank you.
And next up, we have our own Sharon Elwell. Please welcome to the virtual stage. Sharon.
Thank you. I've a little distressed because I don't have a rooster. There is no feathered character in this story. But I want to tell Vicky and Katie, who workshopped a story with me, and I could not make it work.
Wow.
And then Vicky said, well, what age is your character? And I realized I was talking about an adult, but my character is really a child. And so I wrote this story, and you're too old for it, but just pretend you're kids, and I will tell you the story of Millie McBean. I'll tell you the story of Millie McBean, who was meaner than any kid you've ever seen. If you even glanced at Millie, she'd say, what are you looking at? Go away. Tubby and four eyes and skinny and dumb. She had a mean nickname for everyone. At recess, she grabbed every red rubber ball so that no one could play with them. No one at all. She erased Martin's name from his project one day, wrote her own name on it, and she got an A. Martin didn't complain because she punches too hard, and he didn't want to get in a fight in the yard. Then one Monday morning, our classroom looked weird. We looked and we saw Millie had just disappeared. Miss Fox said Millie would be gone for 10 days. And we couldn't help it. We all yelled, hooray! No one around to call us mean names. No one around us to ruin our games. But when we saw Miss Fox was starting to frown, we quit clapping and settled down. We knew those 10 days would go by in a wink, and Millie'd be back. It was our time to think. Maybe Millie is bad because she's sad. Maybe we could do something to make her feel glad. Well, kicks and pushes and punches and shoves, tormenting us, those are the things she loves. Well, there must be something this girl likes to do that doesn't spell trouble for me or for you. So we thought, and we thought. The silence went on and on till at last Sam said, well, there's one thing. She runs really fast. Of course, she's a runner. She's the fastest we've seen. That's how we'll happify Millie McBean. So we got to work on our plan right away. And the day she came back was a whole school race day. We had lots of races, long and small. And of course, Millie won almost all. We high-fived her, we cheered, she was covered with glory. But of course, that's not the end of the story. Being a star ruined all Millie's plans. She couldn't be mean to us, we were her fans. She didn't exactly turn into a friend, but all her mean tricks came to an end. And sometimes after school, we'd go down to the track just to watch Millie run. And sometimes she'd wave back. Millie went on to win lots of races, not just at our school, but all kinds of places. And the news lady came and she made a big fuss. And we smiled to ourselves because we knew it was us. The greatest of secret plans you've ever seen was the day that we happified Millie McBean.
Wow, I couldn't help but picture that as a a book with illustrations. And have you thought about making that into a children's book?
Yes, I'm thinking that should be the right direction for that.
Absolutely.
Because
It's,
my grandkids like it, which is not doesn't always happen with the stuff that I
well, I mean, you tell such a wide range of stories, from serious personal ones to whimsical rhyming ones like the, I mean, um, it's really amazing. Do you have others that rhyme like this?
no, that's my first try at that.
Yeah.
But
Did
it
you
just kind of
find
came that way.
did you find that rhyming helps you remember the story?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Of course, when you make a mistake, it's more glaring too, right?
Yes, that's the
Because it
trouble.
it
If you're
doesn't want.
lost, you're lost.
It's interesting as you do that. I, as an audience member, start predicting what the word is going to be. The next line, because it's going to rhyme. You can sense when the rhyme is coming, and so you're filling the word in. And at one point, then came the day when uh, Millie McBean disappeared, and I thought it was because she had grown a beard. But it was something much more reasonable than that. She was going away for 10 days. Oh, Sharon, that was delight. And I hope you find an illustrator who can work with you on that, or,
I'd
bring it.
like to do that too. It actually happened. That was based on a true story. Uh, what happened in a class that my niece was teaching. So
Wow.
I just kind of mangled it around and
Mhm.
changed the edges and stuff, but it just came out rhyming. It wasn't intentional.
And it has a really clear message too, which is
Yeah, I was trying to think of how to
positive.
tell a story without using the word bully
Hmm.
because I kind of overdone and I wanted it to
Yeah.
not be stereotypical. Well, thank
Well,
you. That helps me.
keep us posted, because I think that has a future beyond the swap, definitely.
Thank you.
All right. Wow, we already have such great stories tonight. And next up, please welcome to our virtual stage, Chester, Chester Weems.
Well, thank you. Tell you what, I want to thank Vicki for inviting me to this because I've decided just listening to you folks is going to elevate my storytelling because I'm learning something from each one of you, and that's pretty neat. I really appreciate that. So, by the way, I do have a chicken story. I'm not going to do it now, but it's my cousin fell in love with the chicken. But we'll explore that at another time. A couple of years ago, I was reading the paper. We still have papers occasionally, real papers. And there was a story in the paper about a man who had recently passed away, and they had his funeral. And the story, I'm not talking about an obituary, but it was a story about the funeral and the man. And it turns out he had been a hero. And the story went on a little bit about why he was a hero. As I read the story, I realized I knew what they were talking about, and it brought back a flood of memories to me. Because the day that he became a hero, I was in my office early in the morning when it happened. And 30 years later, I still can't tell you what it was that it happened that I felt or heard or sensed or whatever it was, but something did. I walked out of my office, walked into the hall, kind of looked around, and two or three other people were out in the hall also, and they were kind of, what was that? No one said they either heard it or felt it or whatever it was, but what was that? So we started speculating a little bit. The office building where we worked was about a mile and a half from a major Air Force base. And we thought maybe they were testing some engines. That happens sometimes in a place like that. They have a lot of those really big bombers, how they shake things when they take off. And then we started speculating, well, maybe because in our area, a lot of natural gas is used, and it's a very rare thing, but occasionally you'll have a natural gas explosion. Well, maybe that was happening. So we decided, let's go over to the curriculum department because they got some televisions over there, and maybe it's on the news. It was that we thought, well, hey, it's that big a deal. And we go over there, and sure enough, it was on the news. And they're speculating about what it was. Something happened downtown. And they said, we think there's been an explosion. And then as the more the news people started talking, they said, we think it was in the Murrah Federal Building. And when they said that over the television, it took on special meaning because about 5 or 6 feet away from me where I was standing was my good friend Lynn, who's a secretary in the curriculum department, and her husband was in charge of that building. And we did not know, but at that instant, Richard, her husband, was laying in rubble in the Murrah Federal Building where Timothy McVeigh had just exploded that bomb, where 168 people died, including all those kids. Richard was lucky. He was injured. He qualified for permanent disability, but he decided to stay working anyway. He proceeded to, over the next several years, he traveled the country telling the story, testified at trials, and so on. But the memories of what happened that day and over the next few days are still in me, in that the way the people in the area, the whole metro area, in fact, the whole state of Oklahoma, started reacting. You could drive down there, everybody had their car lights on. Everybody was quiet. You could drive up to the site, and it was just like silence. It was like a very holy place. And there were volunteers working. They had put up temporarily this big old fence, and the fence is starting to fill up with teddy bears and other kinds of things that people are sticking in there. And people are bringing food. They had so much food, all you had to do was drive up there, and someone would come up and say, hey, you want a sandwich? We got more than we can give away, use right now. Sometimes the radio would put out a call for, hey, the volunteers working this explosion need batteries. 10 minutes later, the same radio would say, stop bringing batteries. We got more batteries than we can use. So people were really reacting to it. So that's the way it was. And it's just and now locally people call that the Oklahoma Standard, the willingness and the jumping in there to help people. But what triggered all this was that article about that man. His name was Washburn. He ran the snack bar on the 4th floor of the Federal Building. Now, if you think about it for a moment, you're standing on the 4th floor at your snack bar, and you're less than 100 feet away from where the explosion happens. An explosion that I sensed 10 miles away. What was it like for the folks there that survived in that instant? Was there a flash? Was there a shock wave from the explosion? Probably the air was filled with chalky material. Can you imagine all of the sheetrock in that building, how it just scattered through the air? Well, Mr. Washburn kept his head about him. He was there, he had one employee, and there were 4 customers. This is early in the morning. It happened about 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, those kind of snack bars in federal buildings, you know, they have a donut or two. You get your coffee and you go to work. Mr. Washburn said, we have to get out of here because everybody was dazed. Follow me. And he started leading the people out of the building because he had been there for quite a few years. He knew the building really well. And even though there was clouds and stuff in the air, he could get through it. And so the people, even though they were shocked, were following him. They go down to the stairwell. I can imagine probably emergency lights might have been on. I don't know. I wasn't not there. Everybody's in shock, probably covered with dust. They go down to the 3rd floor, down to the 2nd floor, down to the 1st floor. Finally, he leads the people out. He led them out to safety. And did I happen to mention Mr. Washburn was blind? In that situation, the blindness was not a handicap at all. He led them out. At his funeral, one of the friends stood up and said, his heart illuminated it for everybody. And I want to share that story because in a couple of weeks, this will be the 30th anniversary of the big memorial bombing. And my two friends, Lynn and her husband, Richard, I visit with them occasionally. They now live in Texas. They survived, but a whole bunch of folks didn't. But I think it was a remarkable story, and I am very glad to have been at least on the fringe of it, of such a thing. So thank you very much for allowing me to share that.
Wow, Chester, that was so powerful. And I mean, the added detail of his blindness just is really turns the whole story, or it adds a whole new layer to it. And it really kind of shows how tragic that situation was, where blindness even becomes an advantage. That's how extreme and out of the ordinary that bombing was. It was really an act of radical empathy to take us on that journey, going down those stairwells too, with great details. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be on.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. All right. I think, Katie, do you agree this would be a good chance to take a 5-minute break? And when we come back, we'll meet our community. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Sounds good. Do you have the prompt that we're going to?
I do. I have the prompt, and we should let people think about it, I guess, during the break. And so this, Vicky, I don't know if Vicky wants credit for this, but I think it's a great prompt. What is your guilt? Well, some context. Easter is coming up, and there's all sorts of interesting edibles from cream eggs to peeps to all those Easter treats. This doesn't have to be an Easter treat, but we want you to share your guilty pleasure food. What is something junky, but you love it and you can't get enough of it? I think Vicky even used the phrase, you eat it like a vulture does a corpse. Was that what you said,
No,
Vicky?
like vultures on roadkill.
Even worse. So think about your guilty pleasure food or your version of roadkill to a vulture. How's that? What a prompt. Amazing. All right. If you are interested, I recommend you putting your view on gallery. And to do that, you go up to the right-hand corner where it says view, and you can put it on gallery and stay behind and chat a little with others who have their cameras on. I will be removing my spotlight and I will pause the recording. Okay. Welcome back. And this will be the second half of the April edition of Do Tell Story Swap. We've had a great night of stories, and a very lively discussion was going on in the gallery in the during the break. Really interesting questions about true stories versus traditional stories, and how very often our swap does feature quite a few traditional stories, which is becoming more and more rare. Um, so I hope that you had a chance to think about the prompt. I will certainly share with you my version of roadkill to a vulture. My name is Brandon Spars. I'm a Santa Rosa High School teacher, and I'm lucky enough to sometimes be the MC of this wonderful swap. And my my guilty pleasure food is definitely potato chips. And once I start eating them, I cannot stop. That's not an Easter food, but when I think of guilty pleasure foods, That's got to be my answer because I am out of control. I just can't even get enough of them in my mouth at once. And then I start pouring from the bag, and oh my God, it just gets disgusting. One time I finished a bag and my wife had to vacuum me off with the vacuum cleaner. All right. So, on that note, I am going to turn things over to our first participant, and that is Meg Brown, who is the chair or co-leader of the swap. Meg, I think you might
Okay,
be.
I'm here. I'm here. Just trying to figure out how to make this thing work. Well, I'm Meg Brown. I live in Forestville, California, out in the West County, and I'll just share with you my Easter because, I want to stay away from Easter because mine is jelly beans. And you know how bad those things are for your teeth?
Mm.
Yeah, but every year I have to buy one bag, portion it out, and try not to overindulge in sugar. So that's mine.
That was a good one. Thank you, Meg. And next we have Chester, who just told that riveting story.
Well, I didn't really understand what the prompt business was out about, so I don't know where ignorance fits in. Is that something or not? But so if that's what you're asking, so time out for me.
Okay. So it's a food that you really can't get enough of.
It's about
Usually.
everything.
All right. And next we have, let's see, who's here? Vicky.
I just do.
You
Anyway,
go.
my guilty pleasure is Polish dogs, hot dogs,
Oh.
pepperoni, chorizo, you name it, all that stuff. And you know what's in that crap? I mean, it's like parts. It's parts. They don't even tell you what's in it. It's just parts.
Mm.
And I live with a vegetarian, which makes it even worse. So, yeah, anyway. So, my name is Vicky Ness, and I live in Sebastopol, California.
Thank you, Vicky. I'm going to remember that. I know what to bring you when, yeah.
Parts.
Next we have Rose.
Yeah, well, my guilty pleasure is chocolate, and the guilt happens twice. The first time happens when I'm at the grocery store and I pass that aisle and there's the fruit and nut chocolate bar, and it's not a little bar, it's a big bar. And I think I really shouldn't buy this. But I buy it because I might need it just in case. And then it comes home and it gets put in my drawer and hidden in my drawer in the storytelling room. And then at some point, I'll be diligently sticking on program, staying on diet. And at some point, I'll realize, okay, I've rationalized too much and I'm off diet. And I think, oh, well, and open the drawer and out comes the chocolate bar and I eat the whole thing. And sometimes it's in the middle of the night when I'm awake with pains in my leg and I can't sleep and I get up and have a glass of warm milk. And then even though I know that high sugar numbers is what triggers those pains in my legs, I open the drawer and out comes the chocolate bar. And that's my guilty pleasure.
Oh, that's a good one. Your storytelling room. Are you in your storytelling room now?
I am.
Yeah, I see some puppets behind you, I think.
Puppets and dolls and
Yeah.
the closet is stuffed with storytelling stuff.
Oh, that's really neat. And there's probably a chocolate bar or two in there.
There's chocolate bars in the drawer, and I haven't had any of them today.
Oh, maybe later tonight.
No, I'm not going to do that tonight.
And next up we have Katie Mangan.
Hi, I'm Katie Mangan and I live in Santa Rosa. And this is an Easter guilty pleasure, but I love hot cross buns by the dozen, slather them with butter.
Mm.
Good job. They only come around once a year. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Where do you get those, Katie?
Oh, you can get them. Well, I've actually just blanked out, but I can tell you there are places that you can
Okay, I'll keep my eye out.
There's a place in
Can-
Hillsburg. Is it Quail and Condor? They do it. And then
Okay.
there is the Swedish bakery. Is it on? Oh,
Village
anyway,
Bakery.
Village Bakery. Thank you. They
And
do
Thank
it.
you.
I've heard Costeau has excellent hot cross buns if you're ever up in Healdsburg.
Right.
And
So
Vicky's
we
wondering if
know.
you can fit a hot dog in there,
Or a chocolate bar.
a chocolate bar. Vina,
Yes.
introduce yourself and tell us your guilty pleasure.
All
Food.
right. I'm Vina Breifogel, and I live here in Pengrove. And I'm such a happy listener here to the stories. And I was particularly excited to hear Brother Ben. Looking forward to that because I heard him tell once years ago from Southern California. So I was delighted with his story. My guilty pleasure I indulged in just today. So I'm on a new diet that my doctor has put me on, which is a high meat, high protein, low carb diet. And it's kind of driving me crazy. I feel like I'm hungry a fair amount of the time. And I got an Instagram post from a cook, an Iranian cook, who gave a recipe for charoset, Iranian charoset, which is a Passover dish throughout the world. And so her recipe was dates that you grind up with walnuts and cardamom and cinnamon. And so I did that today, and then I couldn't stop eating it. I ate the whole batch.
It sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It's really
Oh,
good, tasty stuff. Yeah.
oh, for a bowl of that right now. Oh, Vina, that was wonderful. And next up, we have Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Wakely, and I live in Sebastopol. We've been here for a long time. It's funny because I was thinking of all the lovely guilty pleasures. I have potato chips also, but the new one um, came in well, I'm unmuted there, in a bag of, well, a box. My sister-in-law sent me a garden gnome for some unknown reason that she felt like she needed to send me this handcrafted garden gnome, and she packed it with big bags of, big giant bags of kernel corn, that's salty sweet, and it's purple, and I think it's like a chickaboom or something on the side, and it was amazingly addictive, and my husband and I ate the whole thing, and I gave a lot away, but that is my new favorite guilty thing. It's even better than potato chips.
Sounds amazing.
It was pretty good, but that's it. You have to be careful with your teeth after you eat it.
And next up, we have Laura.
Um, a couple of months ago, there was a question about food asked at this swap. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was some kind of favorite food or go-to food. And everybody said all these like reasonable sorts of things, you know, and I felt like really out of step because my favorite thing is like a loaded potato that you get at Oliver's, like with cheese, sometimes a little broccoli, lots of bacon, you know, and I try very much not to eat them. And my husband has, because I love them so much. I mean, as soon as they come in the door, like, you know, they don't last here very long.
Oh.
So my husband has a really good time because every now and then he'll slip one in and he knows I'll just really go for it. And I had one yesterday and I added more cheese to it and I added garlic and I ate it all up and I loved it. I just loved it. And then afterwards I felt so bad. It like wrecked the rest of the day for me. I was kind of out of commission, you know. And that's why I try to avoid them, but boy, do I enjoy them when I have them every now and then.
That was a great example. And Sharon, what is your guilty pleasure food?
I would have said that I don't actually have an addiction, But then I found myself eating olive bread dipped in olive oil with green olives on the side. And I thought, oh, maybe I do.
It sounds like olives. Olive bread, oil, and the fruit itself. Wonderful. And next up we have Renu coming from tomorrow, right?
Yes, I'm coming from tomorrow. This is morning here in Chennai, India. I'm in the southern part. And my guilty pleasure is peanut candy. I just love it. I cannot resist it. No matter how many times I tell myself I must not finish the packet, but I end up finishing it. So that's my favorite.
Now I know what to bring you at the next feast conference, which is in Chennai in 2026.
Yes, yes, yes.
Great. And next up we have Chester. Oh, we already, sorry, do you have a food now?
Well, now that I understand what we're doing, it's not only guilty, but every time I eat it, I realize my doctor said don't do that. But ice cream,
Yeah.
ice cream late at night, the worst combination you can get.
Yeah.
But I do it anyway. Although I went almost a week recently.
It was only a matter of time before ice cream
Yeah.
was mentioned.
I've never been strong even since I was a kid, so that's okay. I don't care. I'm old and I can do what the heck I want. It's sort of like President Bush once. He said, "I'm president. If I don't like broccoli, I'm not going to eat it." So,
That's great. And next up we have Walter.
Walter Wilson from Sacramento. My wife and I were both born in Southern California. See's Candy, founded in 1921 in California, in Los Angeles. My grandmother and Mary Sees were friends. Every year on my birthday, my wife gives me a personal box of See's Candy. I put it in the refrigerator and I try to stretch it out as long as I can.
Oh.
In 1971, Warren Buffett purchased See's Candy. I'm not sure if it was the first or second company he bought in building his empire.
Oh my God. And yeah, he eats a steak every day, right?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Let's see, Sri coming from tomorrow also, right?
Yes, tomorrow I stay in a city called Vizag, a little up Chennai on the east coast of India. And mine is same as yours, the potato wafers, crispy potato wafers.
Oh,
Am I audible? Hello?
yeah, no, I was oohing and awing because it sounds so good. My
Yeah,
favorite
so
cuisine is
I know
Indian.
they're not so good for health. I keep telling my little one also that, you shouldn't indulge so much in potato wafers. But whenever I buy a packet for her, I take one or two. I'll ask, please give me one more. Please give me one more from her. So that
Oh,
is
that's
potato
the
wafers, I think.
Indian version of potato chip, right?
Yeah, potato chips. Yes.
Yes.
What we call it. Yes, crispy ones, the thin crispy ones. Yes.
Yeah. Now, Mira, can you turn your camera on? Yay.
Hello. Hi
Hi, Mira.
everyone. This is Meera from India. And my guilty pleasure is dark chocolate. I simply cannot resist dark chocolate. So I've managed to keep it as a treat for myself. So for all the times that I eat healthy, so once in a while I have a piece of dark chocolate after perhaps a good story session or something good that I've done. So a little treat for myself.
Oh, will you have a piece after our swap?
Yes, I will. I most definitely will.
Good. Thank you, Mira.
And talking of crispy and crunchy, I have a crispy and crunchy story to tell when my turn comes.
Oh, good. I hope we better keep moving along so we can get to you. Now, Deb, can you turn your camera on?
Well, here I am.
Whoa.
Not much. Maybe I should turn the picture back on. I kind of
No,
look
that's
like the
good.
picture.
We
Hi.
see you.
Okay, well, it's sweetened condensed milk in my coffee. I never have sugar in my coffee over the years, and I didn't want to get the habit of it. So I never mess with sweetened condensed, and I don't get those Starbucks sweet drinks. I always go no sugar, but then I went over to half and half because I like the sugar, you know. But this week I ran out of half and half, and I had some sweetened condensed milk, and I just poured it. It poured real slow. So I went into the other room to do something. While I was waiting for it to pour, I came back and I had like 2 ounces of this sweet, sweet, sweet sugar stuff. And I felt so guilty. I pulled out a measuring cup to measure what before I do the damages, how much in calories, because I try to think of calories. And it was like a quarter of a cup. I said, okay, as long as I know how many calories it is, I don't feel so bad. And then I drank, I poured it in there and it was nice. And then I poured the whole pot of coffee in and it was nice. And so I didn't do it again, but you know, I slipped up and enjoyed. I enjoyed it. It's very nice. Sugar's nice in your coffee sometimes.
They use that in Vietnamese coffee. I know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's
In
so
the
good.
in where is it? Indonesians,
Yeah, they
Southeast,
like
they
that
that's
too.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kopi
But
susu.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the other sugars all the rest of the day and all the candies and the chocolates
Mhm.
and whatever, seas candies, the whole works. It's like, don't expect me to stop, when I start. Yeah.
And Cynthia, can you turn your camera on? Cynthia? Okay. How about Shilpa?
Yeah.
Shilpa, will you turn your camera on? Let's see.
Oh, sorry. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Shilpa and I'm joining from India. And well, my guilty pleasure is a savory. It is flat rice mixture. It is called poha in India, and it is a mixture. It is deep fried, but I always say that it's addictive, and yet I just can't stop myself having it.
Oh, God, sounds wonderful. And Katie, can you help me? Who do we need to hear from?
Have we heard from Gay Barner?
Where's Gay?
She may have
She
left.
left because she couldn't get the sound on.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have got everybody.
Except Cynthia, right?
Oh, except Brother Ben.
Where's Ben? We have to hear Ben's, of course.
Oh,
Ben, where are you?
through this. He's got to be here.
I don't see Ben.
No, I don't see him. I think he might have left.
He might have had to go. Oh, shoot. Well, I will report next week after I see him. So we should we have a nice list of tellers, so we probably ought to continue with our roster of tellers tonight. And that brings us to Beth. So Beth, there you are. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Beth Wakely.
Okay. There we go. Right. Am I there? Okay. All right. Am I there?
Yeah, you sound good, Beth.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was there spotlighted or not. I have tonight actually not so much a story as just a tiny vignette because it just kind of caught my fancy. My timing has been difficult with lots and lots of travel with family with health issues, but for tonight, I want to tell you about the travelers and the bear. Now, there were acquaintances who liked to take walks, and they were actually traveling together, and their pathway took them into the woods. And it was one of those nights that was very dark, very, very dark, as a matter of fact. And one of the travelers said, "Oh, I don't like the looks of this place. Mm-mm. But we are friends, and if we, stick together, no harm should come to us at all." And they continued a little ways, and just as they turned the corner, who should appear but a bear? A bear right there, scaring the first traveler, found the first tree and scooted up without thinking at all of his friend, at all. Up he went. Now, the second traveler knew he could not compete with the bear and decided to throw himself on the ground and thought, maybe if I'm just very still, maybe the bear won't bother me. Well, the bear lumbered over and took a sniff, and that traveler was mortified, practically as stiff as a board. Took a sniff, sniffed his ear, sniffed his mouth. The traveler managed to not be breathing. "Ugh," said the bear, "not interested in something that doesn't move." And the bear lumbered on its way. Off he went, off he went. Well, that first traveler came shimmying down the tree and said, "Ha ha, I saw that bear. I saw that bear whispering in your ear. What did it say?" And the second traveler looked up and said, "Well, he told the truth. He said, 'Never trust anyone who says they'll stand by you,' and then runs off at the first sign of trouble." And that's the total story.
That was really wonderful. And wow, you achieved a lot in, oops, I
About
didn't
30
mean-
seconds.
Yeah,
2 minutes. It was just
Oh,
2 minutes.
that was great. And it has a message and everything. And the puppet.
Oh, this
I
is my
didn't see
favorite
that.
bear. I was an old nursery school teacher for years, and this one would
Aw.
brush his teeth and do all of those songs. And this doesn't have any face really, but he's a very good bear. So
He has a great profile
he
from the
has a great
side.
profile, doesn't he? The bear.
Yeah, he's like the California flag.
He may come again.
I hope he does. And he's full of wisdom too. Thank you, Beth. That was delightful. All right. And I know somebody has been waiting to tell her story. Shilpa, can you turn your camera on? Yay. And please welcome all the way from India, Shilpa. Are you walking to a stage?
Yes, I'm walking to my workplace. Yes, yes.
Oh, and you're
I-
wearing a California shirt.
yes, very apt. Am I audible?
Yes, you sound
Yes,
great.
yes, now even the light is better. Yeah. So hello everyone. I am Shilpa, better known as Shilpa Story Rack, and I'm joining from India. And today I'm going to tell you a folk tale. Well, long, long time ago. That's the way all stories begin. So long, long time ago, in a village lived a woman. She knew many stories and songs, but she never told any story nor sang songs. So both the song and the stories, they started feeling suffocated. And
Mm.
one day, when the woman was sleeping with her mouth wide awake, wide open, both the story and the song, they escaped.
Oh.
One of them took the shape of a pair of shoes and parked itself outside the house. And another one took the shape of a coat and hung itself on the peg inside. In the evening, when the husband came back from work, he saw a pair of shoes outside. And when he came inside, he saw a coat. Hmm, I think someone is visiting my wife in my absence.
Oh, no.
So he goes and confronts his wife. Whose coat is this and whose pair of shoes are there? Well, the wife was clueless. She had absolutely no idea. I I don't know. What you don't know? We have got a coat and a shoes here, and you are saying you don't know? Yeah, I I really don't know. The husband wasn't satisfied by his wife's answer, and they started arguing, and soon it took a shape of a dirty quarrel, heated argument. And in a puff of anger and rage, the husband he takes the blanket and goes to the monkey god temple. Now, her wife is sitting and thinking about the mysterious coat and pair of shoes. Well, because she couldn't find out the reason or the answer to these, she turned off the flame and went off to sleep. In those days, well, all the flames were turned off. They would gather at the monkey god's temple to tell about the activities in their house and to gossip. Yes, who doesn't love to gossip? So, well, they were all gossiping, and on that particular night, one of the flames was late. Yes, someone was late, and I think you understood. So, when the flame came, one of the flames asked, "Hey, why are you so late tonight?" Ah, there was a quarrel in the house. Quarrel? Tell us, what was it all about? Ah, let me tell you something. You know, the lady of the house, she knows so many stories, so many songs, but she never tells any story. She never sings any song. Oh, really? Is that so? Hmm. And so today, one of them took the shape of a pair of shoes, and another one took the shape of a coat. And the husband came. They fought and fought and fought. Well, the wife doesn't know that the story and the song took revenge. Oh, is that so? They were having a good time. The husband, who was lying under the blanket in the monkey god's temple, heard the conversation and he realized his mistake. By the time he went home, it was almost dawn. He went to his house and apologized to his wife. "I'm sorry, dear. I shouldn't have fought with you like that yesterday. But why don't you tell me a story and sing a song for me?" Huh? What story? What song are you talking about? Because the wife had forgotten the story and the song. So, my dear storyteller friends, if you know any story or any song, please keep on sharing, or else they might take revenge. Thank you.
Oh, Shilpa, that was so fun. I'm trying to think what shape some of my stories would take if I didn't tell them. A bucket. I don't know. I love that it was shoes and a coat. At first, I thought they were going to go walking around together with the coat over the shoes and pretend to be somebody. That was really fun. Who is the monkey god? Is it Hanuman?
Yes, Hanuman, yes.
Yeah,
According to Hindu mythology, monkey god is Lord Hanuman.
yeah. And I
Yep.
know that he is associated with storytelling because anytime you mention the Ramayana, Hanuman
Yes.
is present, right?
Yes.
Anyway, that's a really neat story. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, we're so lucky to have you. All right, that was wonderful. And next up, we have also from India, from Chennai, and I'm looking for Renu. Renu, welcome to our virtual stage. We're so glad you're here too.
Good evening, good morning, everyone. It's morning for us here. And I want to first check whether you can hear this. Can you hear this? You can? Okay, it's part of my story, that's why. Okay, this is a story I wrote myself last year for the theme building bridges. So I'm going to tell you the story now. आइए 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 कहानी सुनिए आइए आइए कहानी सुनिए come everyone, come and sit next to me, listen to a story. Ramlal was sitting right outside the door of his house. This was the city of Varanasi. Narrow streets, and the streets were bustling with people. Everyone was juggling for space. Auto rickshaws, cars, cyclists, scooters, pom pom, ping ping, shh, hey, get out of my way, and pedestrians trying to make their way through all this traffic. And there was Ramlal sitting there hoping against hope that somebody, anyone would just stand there and listen to a story. Aye, 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 but everything fell on deaf ears, except for one little girl going to school. She tugged at her mother's hand and said, see, Dadaji wants to tell a story. Grandpa wants to tell a story. Let me listen, Ma, please. Come on, Kavita, hurry up. You're getting late for school and I'm getting late for work, said her mother. And so she just waved out at Ramlal, and Ramlal waved back very sadly. He gave up after some time. He opened the door of his house and walked in. Now the door from outside is very deceptive. It looks like it's a narrow little house on the lake. But when you go inside, there was a huge courtyard. And right in the center of that courtyard, there was a huge tree. And the tree had shed all its fragrant flowers. The fragrance had risen up in the air. And Ramlal took a deep breath. All around the courtyard were rooms that had once resonated with the sound of conversations, voices sometimes raised in anger, but always the fights were resolved, and people smiled and joked and laughed, and the pitter-patter of children's feet running all around. But now, everything was silent. Ramlal lived all by himself in that house. He had so many memories of his grandfather, grandmother, his father, his mother, his uncles and aunts, cousins, and his own son, Dushyant. But things were not the same anymore. People had come to the courtyard to listen to his stories. Stories of the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, stories he had heard from his grandfather, grandmother, his parents. But now, everything was silent. Day after day he sat outside, saying, "Aye, aye, aye, kahani suniye." But nobody ever came to listen to even one story. His eyes filled with tears when he thought back to those days. He remembered one day when Dushyant had come up to him and said, "Papa, I don't want to stay in Varanasi anymore." "But why? Why, Dushyant? This is your house. This is your legacy. This house belongs to you. You have to live here. Have your children here." "Papa, I already said, I don't want to live here anymore." "Dushyant, please." He took his wife's hand in his hand and said, "Papa, Shushma and I are moving to Bombay." "What? Moving to Bombay? But why?" "Because we have a better life there, Papa. I'm an engineer. Sushma is a doctor. We have a much better future. In fact, her parents have found us an apartment there." "You already did all this and didn't tell me about it?" "Dushyant, please, I beg of you, please stay here. You can do whatever you want, but please stay here with me." "No, Papa, I told you I've made up my mind." "Dushyant, please, Papa, stop it right now. I hate Varanasi. I hate everything about it. And I hate you. I want to leave." What? Get out. And Dushyant didn't need any more further encouragement. He took his wife's hand and out he went. And 2 seconds later, Ramlal felt bad. "Oh no, what have I done?" He ran behind his son. "Dushyant, don't go!" But Dushyant had disappeared from sight. Ramlal thought to himself, why did I send off my son like that? Years had gone by. He didn't even know whether he had grandchildren. Yet, every morning when he walked down to the Shiva temple, he prayed diligently for his son, for his daughter-in-law, and for the grandchildren he had never seen. Maybe they didn't even exist, but he still prayed for them. His whole day went off looking after the house. He would clean the house. He would wash all his clothes, put them out to dry. He would cook a simple meal for himself, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And at night, he would go to sleep. Every morning when he woke up, he would do his yoga, sit under the sun, do his Surya Namaskar. And then his ritual would start. One day, just as he went back into the house, and shut the door. There was a knock. He opened the door wondering who it was. But to his surprise, it was Dushyant, his wife Sushma, and the little girl. The little girl came running forward and said, Dadaji, Dadaji, I'm your granddaughter, I'm Radhika. What? He picked her up, hugged her close to his chest and said, Radhika, you're my granddaughter? Yes, Dadaji, yes, I'm your granddaughter. And Mama said you tell lots of stories. I want lots and lots of stories from you. Of course I'll tell you lots of stories. He started to cry. And Sushma came forward and touched his feet and said, Papaji, we have come to stay with you for a few days. Oh, you're welcome, my dear, you're welcome. He lifted her up. Come, let me show you your room. Dushyant, he said, but Dushyant didn't look at him. Papaji, leave him alone for some time. He'll be okay, said Sushma. And Radhika was tugging at his hand. Dadaji, Dadaji, tell me a story, tell me a story. Wait, Radhika, let me show your mama the room. So he showed her the room and then he went down, sat under the tree and told Radhika a story. As she sat there, rapt with attention, the kind of attention he wanted. As she listened to story after story, while Sushma was getting things organized. Dushyant went straight into the room, opened his laptop, and sat there, started to work. After some time, Radhika said, Dadaji, why is Papa behaving like this with you? Why isn't he talking to you? Oh, beta, that's a long story. Papaji didn't want to live here, and he left and he went away. Oh, Dadaji, how can he be so nasty to you? He doesn't like me telling stories, Radhika. He doesn't like it. Oh, I'll go and talk to Papa. And she went into the room. Papa, why aren't you talking to Dadaji? Oh, Radhika, that's none of your business. Stop it. Leave me alone. Papa, listen to me right now. If you don't talk to Dadaji, I'm not coming back to Mumbai with you. I will stay here with Dadaji and listen to all his stories. Radhika, stop it right now. I'm working, can't you see? Yes, Papa. Always work. Do you ever spend time with me? Do you ever tell me stories? You never talk to me. You never talk to Mama. Mama is busy. You're busy. Who will spend time with me? I'll stay here with Dadaji. Oh, Radhika, stop it, I said. Papa, I will not stop till you come there, apologize to Dadaji, and then listen to his story. Okay, I'll do it. And so Dushyant got up, went out and said, Papa, I'm sorry. Oh, Dushyant, you don't have to say sorry. He picked up, he hugged his son to his chest and said, I'm sorry, my son. I shouldn't have shouted at you. I'm very sorry. I should have allowed you to go back to Bombay. I should have allowed you to go to Bombay. I'm very sorry. That's when tears ran down Dushyant's face. He held his father more tight and said, I'm sorry, Papa. I'm sorry. Radhika said, that's the way. I like this. Now I'll come back to Bombay if you want. But if you don't behave yourself, I will stay right here with Dadaji. Sushma came out smiling. So you have made Papaji and your dad get together, is it? Yes, Mama. And I will come back here every day for my holidays. And you and Papa cannot stop me. Of course I won't stop you, Radhika, said Amma smiling. Dadaji, I'll come and spend all holidays with you. But you must come to Mumbai and stay with us too. Of course I will, Radhika. I will come, but not for too long, okay? This house, I belong in this house till I die. Oh, Papa, oh, Dadaji, don't talk about dying. I will come every time and listen to your stories. Said Dadaji. That's good news ahead, indeed. And from that day on, 3 people sat down around the tree listening to Ramlal's stories. And that is the end of my story. Thank you for listening.
Renu, I see a little bit of you in the granddaughter, I think. I bet you were clamoring for stories when you were a little girl.
I'm sure.
That was delightful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think storytelling really did kind of miss a generation.
Yes.
All the engineers and serious people, and then we're seeing this revival of
Yes.
storytelling now. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We have time for one more story, and I know just who to call to our virtual stage, and that is Sri. Sri, can you turn on your camera so that I can pull you up? Sri?
Brandon, there was Mira was before her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mira, you're first. I'm sorry. So Mira, you'll need to turn your camera on too. Mira, then Sri. I bet we can fit them both in. Mira, can you hear me? Or Sri?
Mira can hear you. She's in my house right now.
Oh,
So I'm narrating this one from Renu's place. I'm at Chennai with Renu, having a wonderful time. There's the beach here and lovely food, and she's a wonderful host. So are we ready?
yes.
First story. And as I promised, this story is a crispy, crunchy story. And I have my ukulele. I hope you can hear it. So it's a kind of musical story with a little sing song along with it. Can you hear it? Yes? Oh, okay, great, wonderful. So here's a story. Long, long ago, but not too long ago, far, far away, but not too far away, when the day was not too dark, it wasn't too bright, it wasn't too hot, nor too cold. That's where our story begins. In a small village, there lived a granny and a grandma. Granny and a grandpa. So we call them in Tamil, we call them Avva and Tata. Avva is a granny and Tata is a grandpa. So Tata woke up in the morning and he yawned. Lakshmi, what are you cooking today? I'm so hungry. What's for breakfast? Lakshmi said, today I'm making upma. Upma, it's kind of a porridge but it's some kind of savory thing, you know. And it's made with many different kind of ingredients. And Tata said, I'm not interested in upma. I don't want to eat upma, Lakshmi. Please, not again. Yesterday you made upma. Day before you made upma. And before that you made upma. I don't want to eat upma. And then he smelled something delicious. I smell something wonderful. You know what it is? You know what it is? It's dosa. Do you all know what dosa is? Have you tried a dosa before? It's like a crispy pancake that's made with rice flour. And Tata, just like me, he loved crispy, crunchy, yummy, yummy dosas. He said, dosa. And with dosa, you have dips. Those are called chutneys. So you have different kind of chutneys. Tomato chutney, the peanut chutney, the coriander chutney. So different kinds of chutneys. Ginger chutney, you name it. And in India, we make chutney, beautiful, delicious dip that the dosa goes into. And it's lip smacking good. So Tata said, I can smell some dosa. I want some dosa. And he sang, dosa, dosa, yummy, yummy, dosa, 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 crunchy, crunchy, dosa, crispy, crispy, dosa, yummy, yummy, dosa. He said, I want some dosas. Avva said, well, we don't have any of the ingredients. I need rice, I need the lentils, and I need all of the vegetables that go into making the dosa and the chutneys. Can you please go to the store and get it? He said, okay, I'm going. He took a bag. Tata took his bag and off he walked to the market singing, dosa, dosa, yummy, yummy, dosa, crispy, crispy dosa, crunchy, crunchy dosa. He went to the market and he told Ali, I have a list of things I need. I need the rice, I need the lentils, I need oil and the vegetables, all kinds of vegetables. The tamarind, you know, tamarind is, it makes the food sour. You have a little sour taste and it adds a delicious flavor to the chutneys and the dips. That and the coriander and the tomatoes and the peanuts and all of that and all of the vegetables. Can you give me all of that? I need to make so many chutneys. Ali said, is it a feast? You're not calling me? What is it, Tata? No. It's just that we have dosas at home today for dinner, and you need chutneys, because what is dosa without a chutney? Ali said, okay, all right. That's a big list. So much. He said, Tata, you can't carry all this home. I'll send it in a big truck. And off Tata went, singing, dosa, dosa, yummy, yummy dosa, crispy, crispy dosa, crunchy, crunchy dosa. And at home, Lakshmi was waiting for all the ingredients. And here came a truckload of ingredients, and Tata said, see, you have everything. Now off I go to work, and when I come back, please make 100 dosas. I'm so hungry that I want to eat 100 dosas. She said, all right, you can go to work. And off he went singing, dosa, dosa, yummy, yummy dosa, crispy, crispy dosa, crunchy, crunchy dosa. Off he went. And now Avva had to do all of the work. These were the days that you did not have the electricity, you didn't have the mixers and the grinders. She took out her, grinding stone, and her grinding stone went tuck chick chick, tuck chick chick, tuck chick chick, tuck chick chick. She put the rice and the lentils and a little bit of salt and some water, and she started grinding, tuck chick chick, tuck chick chick, tuck chick chick, tuck chick chick. Out came fluffy, buttery batter, dosa batter. She took it off into a bowl, and then next she knew she had to make some chutneys. So in she put the tomatoes and a little salt and the tamarind and some chilies and some garlic, and out came the tomato chutney and the peanut chutney and the coriander chutney and the ginger chutney and the garlic chutney and all kinds of chutneys. Do you know how many kinds of chutneys she made? Not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10. She made 100 kinds of chutneys. 100. And there was a batter for 100 dosas. Now, Ava was waiting. She 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 was waiting for Tata. But Tata was late from work. So she thought, okay, what do I do now? Maybe, I don't know, I should try how the chutneys have come out and how crispy the dosas are. Did I put enough salt in this one? Or enough chili in that one? Or is there enough garlic in that one? Let me try. And she took out a pan. She sprinkled some water. She poured the dosa batter that's just like a pancake, but very crispy and very crunchy. She drizzled some oil over it, and she turned it this way and that way and this way and that way, and she took out a crispy crunchy dosa onto the plate. She added a little of the tomato chutney. She dipped it and she ate. It's yummy. Let me try something else, the peanut chutney. So she tried one chutney after the other with the dosa, and all of the chutneys had come so delicious, and so were the crispy crunchy dosas. She loved it all. You know, you get bored and tired of cooking and eating your own food, right? But today everything had turned out so delicious. She said, I love what I made today. It's lovely. And she ate not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but she ate 99 dosas. And Tata had come knocking at the door. Lakshmi, I'm back. Everything smells so delicious. I'm famished. Where are my dosas?
Well, you need to go wash your legs first, said Lakshmi.
Okay. He went wash his feet.
Why don't you take a shower? You look so dirty.
All right. He went. He took a shower. I'm hungry. Where are the dosas?
Wait. You sit there. I'll get it.
So she went inside into the kitchen, and she had batter just enough for one dosa. She put it on the tawa, and she turned it this way and that way and this way and that way. She took it out to plate. She just had one drop of chutney, a little of this, a little of that, and she took it all and went to Tata. She said, here is your dosa. What? Just one dosa? Where are the rest? Get all of them. I can eat them all at one go.
Well, you know what? I made 100 dosas, but you were so late from work, so you were not coming at all. I was waiting for you. So what? I finished all the 99 dosas by the time you came. What? You finished 99 dosas? How, Lakshmi? How did you eat 99 dosas? I ate them like this, she said. She took the last dosa. She dipped it in all the chutneys and gobbled them up. And she said like this. Tata was so sad. Where are my dosas? There are none. Tata had to wait for another day to eat dosa, dosa, yummy, yummy dosa, crispy, crispy dosa, crunchy, crunchy dosa. That's the story of Avva, Tata, and how many dosas? 100 dosas. Thank you.
Oh, Mira, your voice is so musical. The whole thing was like a song.
Thank you.
And now, did you make that story up, or is it a traditional story that you've reworked, or?
Okay, so this is a story that came from my grandma to my mom, and from my mom to me, and we were so fascinated by the story. And we had so many in India. We have so many food stories. We have the story of vada and idli and dosas and so many things. And the children, just like the Popeye and the spinach, so the children are encouraged to eat the food when they know the nutritional value, and when they know, when they hear so much of it to a story. And I added it a little song, and it is, I always tell this story with a disclaimer to the parents. I say the song is going to stay and roll for a very, very long time. Your children are going to demand dosas. And all of you out here, I would highly, highly suggest that you go and try dosa for sure the next time you see an Indian restaurant. And I'm sure you will love the dosa and the chutneys.
Yeah. You've made me really, really hungry. I've heard of masala dosa.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That was really wonderful, Mira. And Ree, do we have your camera on? There
I
you are,
am.
everybody. Yes.
I'm getting a resound. Is it only me or everybody is? Yeah.
It's
Hello?
good now.
Yeah, it's good now. Yes. So, yeah, I'll share a short story. It's already, I think, time. Am I audible nicely? I'll just open my
You
curtain
sound good.
once. Right. So actually, I have heard the bear story earlier. So I had a similar story, a little wee bit different, but this is again connected to Ramayana. So when Sita was abducted by Ravana and she's sitting in the garden of Ashoka trees, and Hanuman comes there and he says, "Come on, I can't see you like this. Rama is waiting for you, and he has sent me to, and I can just, just abolish all these demonesses who are there over here." And they're being very mean to you. They're laughing at you. They're not treating you with respect. I'm really, really upset about the way they're treating you. Please come with me, I'll take you to Rama. And Sita says, "No, Hanuma, I can't come with you. Rama has to come, he has to fight Ravana, and then only I'll come with all due respect." Okay, then Hanuma says, "Okay, Mata, okay, mother, I do agree that you have your respect, and righteously so. Let Rama come and take you. But just give me permission so that I can just put these all these, demonesses, like, who are treating you with such ill respect and all that. Let me give them a lesson. Let me teach them a lesson to treat you with respect." Then Sita says, "Hanuma, let me tell you a small story." She says, "Once upon a time, there was a hunter, and he was a very wicked and cruel hunter, harming little animals like, the deer, the doe, or a rabbit, or a hare, or some small, small ones. But one day, while he was hunting in the forest, he comes across a big tiger. And as soon as he saw the tiger, he got so scared. He scrambled up the tree and he was on the top of the tree. But on the top of the tree, there was also a bear. And as soon as he saw the bear, he said, please, please, please save me from the tiger. The tiger is waiting down the tree. Please, please save me. And the bear said, okay, don't worry. You're in safe hands. I will save you. And from down, the tiger says, hey, bear, we both are the wild animals. We belong to the jungle. This is a mere human being. He has come from somewhere else. Why don't you push him down? I am so hungry. I just want to feast on him. And the bear says, tiger, I know, but once someone comes to us and asks for shelter, and I have given my word to him that I will save him, no way I'm going to send him down. And the tiger says, let me teach you a lesson. And after a while, it was getting dark and the bear is asleep. And then the same tiger says to the man, you know, my hunger grew leaps and bounds, and no way I'm going to, go away from this tree. You will starve of starvation. Why don't you do one thing? You push the bear down, and then I'll have my stomach's fill, and I will leave. What do you people think the bear, the human did? The hunter, he did the same. He pushed the bear down, and the bear fell down. And now the tiger says, I'm not going to kill you and eat you. No way, we are friends. But I just wanted to teach you, see, you did not push the man, but the man pushed you. So now you know the true nature of the man. And the bear says, still, I forgive him. That is his nature. And it was my nature that I protect the people who come to me and ask me for shelter. So he behaved according to his nature, and I behaved according to mine. And so I let him go. And the tiger walked away, and the bear also forgave the man, and he got down from the tree. He thanked the bear, and from then on, he turned a new leaf. And she says to Hanuma, all these demonesses are demon, evil, wicked, and unruly by their nature. But why should you punish them for their own nature? Your nature should be of forgiving, Hanuma. Your nature is not to take revenge on them. You are a forgiving guy by nature. Why are you letting go of your own nature? And Hanuma says, Mata, oh mother, you have opened my eyes today. So be it. And he goes away from there. So this is the tiny story from Ramayana which Sita has told to Hanuma, and there is such a lot to learn from this tiny story. And recently on Saturday we had Sri Ramanavami. It is the birthday of Lord Rama, and also in the southern states of India, on the same birthday they also perform in temples and in communities they perform the marriage of Rama and Sita, and it's a spectacle, and we all have some good stuff to eat and things like that. And lovely stories came by today. So there was Hanuma and Shilpa, and in another story there was Bear. So this prompted me to share the story impromptu, which I had shared with children on the day of Ram Navami. Thank you everyone for this opportunity. Thank you, Katie, for asking me.
Thank you, Sri, because I teach the Ramayana in my world history class, and my students always ask, why doesn't Sita just go back with Hanuman? And that's going to help explain that. That was really wonderful, and it's full of wisdom. I've heard a story similar to that involving the Buddha, who is rescuing a drowning scorpion, and then it bites him. And his monk asks, why aren't you mad at the scorpion? It bit you after you saved it. And he says it's the scorpion's nature. We have to remember that. I have to remind myself every day when I teach 14 and 15-year-olds, it's their nature that makes them the way they are.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So we have had so many great stories today. Oh, and Rose is asleep. That's okay. We'll still pull her up. And Rose, welcome. There's Sharon and Renu and Beth. And I hope I'm not going to miss somebody.
Esther.
Esther.
Yeah, where is Esther?
I apologize to our fellow. I will go on to YouTube and listen to the story that I missed.
And Shilpa's coming back.
Mira's also there. Mira, put yourself on video.
Shilpa, can you turn your camera on?
And Mira.
There we go.
Sorry, I had to go somewhere urgently, so I had to leave. Now I'm back home and I've joined again.
Did you get Mira? Oh yeah, there she is.
Mira's on. We had so many tellers tonight. Look at this. And Brother Ben, and I hope I have everyone, and forgive me if I don't. Thank you all for coming tonight. It was such a delightful range of stories. We had humorous, we had rhyming, we had a puppet, and of course we had Brother Ben. So it was a very fulfilling edition of Do Tell Story Swap. And I just want to remind people the regional gem is on April 26th. And John St. Clair is this year's regional gem. You can find a link to that event on the STAC website. It starts at 9 a.m. with the annual meeting of the Storytelling Association of California, and then there's a concert by John St. Clair at 10:30. All right, everybody. Any other announcements, Meg or Katie or Vicky? Okay. I want to wish everyone a good night, and I'll see some of you on April 26th. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, Mira. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
That was wonderful.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri.